There is a country on Earth that has no military, no permanent police force, and no capital city. In fact, you can drive around the entire country before finishing a cup of tea. This is not a fictional story. This country is real. Today, we will talk about a tiny island nation lost in the vast Pacific Ocean, Nauru. Very few people in Bangladesh have heard of this country. Yet history remembers Nauru as one of the richest countries in the world. Today, it is a nation struggling with environmental destruction, economic collapse, and an uncertain future. How did this happen? Why does Nauru have no military? How did a wealthy nation fall into ruin? In this documentary, we will explore the birth, rise, fall, and powerful lessons of Nauru. Where is Nauru? Geography. On the world map, Nauru looks like nothing more than a tiny dot in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, about 4,200 kilometers northeast of Australia. Nauru covers only 21 square kilometers, making it the third smallest country in the world. Its population is approximately 12,500 people. For comparison, a single district in Dhaka is often larger than the entire country. Nauru has no capital city, no railway system, no rivers, and no mountains. The island is surrounded by a single ring road, and you can drive around the entire country in about 30 minutes. Nauru before Europeans. Before European arrival, Nauru was a peaceful paradise. The native people, known as Nauruans, lived by fishing, coconut farming, and small tribal communities. They had no king, no major wars, and little desire for wealth or conquest. They lived happily with what nature provided. But history shows that wherever valuable resources exist, outside powers eventually take notice. European arrival and the beginning of disaster. In 1798, a British sailor became the first European to reach Nauru. Over time, Germans, British settlers, and Christian missionaries arrived. They brought weapons, diseases, alcohol, and foreign influences. The island's peaceful society began to change. However, the true disaster started with a seemingly innocent discovery. White gold, the discovery of phosphate. In the late 19th century, European scientists discovered an unusual white rock in Nauru's soil. Tests revealed it was phosphate, a vital ingredient for agricultural fertilizer and food production. This resource was nicknamed white gold. From that moment, Nauru's destiny changed forever. Colonization, exploitation, and war. Nauru first came under German control. After World War I, Britain, Australia, and New Zealand jointly administered the island and expanded phosphate mining operations. The local population became laborers while the island's environment suffered extensive damage. During World War II, Japan occupied Nauru. Thousands of Nauruans were forcibly relocated to other islands, and many never returned. Independence and the Golden Dream. In 1968, Nauru gained independence. What followed was a golden age. Phosphate exports generated enormous wealth, making Nauru one of the richest countries per capita in the world. There were no income taxes. Government revenues were abundant. The Nauruan government purchased hotels, office buildings, and investments abroad. It even established its own airline. People believed the prosperity would last forever. But nature was quietly keeping score. The beginning of greed. Nauru dreamed of becoming unique and wealthy forever. The problem was that there was no long-term planning and little concern for future generations. Mining continued relentlessly. The island's interior was torn apart in pursuit of profit. The road to destruction. Within a few decades, nearly 80% of Nauru's land became uninhabitable. Forests disappeared. Agriculture became impossible. Freshwater resources became scarce. The country became entirely dependent on imports. Food came from overseas. Water came from overseas. Meanwhile, phosphate reserves slowly ran out. Why does Nauru have no military? Nauru has no military because the country is extremely small and faces no significant external threats. Australia is largely responsible for its defense and security arrangements. The country maintains a small police force, but crime rates remain relatively low because the population is small and close-knit. When wealth makes people dependent. After independence, Nauru faced an unusual reality. The population suddenly received enormous wealth without needing to work for it. The government effectively supported much of daily life. People abandoned fishing. They stopped farming. Physical labor became rare. The Nauruans, once known for living closely with nature, gradually adopted a highly sedentary lifestyle. Food changed, bodies changed. As phosphate mining destroyed agricultural land, Nauru could no longer grow much of its own food. Imported foods became the norm. These imports included canned products, fast food, sugary drinks, processed meats, instant noodles, burgers, and fried chicken. Traditional foods such as fish, coconuts, and local fruits became less common. The world's most obese nation. After 2000, global health reports revealed a shocking reality. Nauru became one of the most obese countries on Earth. Around 90% of adults were overweight or obese. Rates of diabetes became among the highest in the world. Heart disease and kidney disease reached alarming levels. In this tiny island nation, nearly every family was affected by serious health problems. Doctors were available, but the scale of illness was overwhelming. Living under Australia's shadow. Today, Nauru survives largely through foreign aid, international agreements, and support from Australia. Its story stands as a warning to the world. Natural resources can create great wealth, but without sustainable planning, environmental protection, and wise leadership, prosperity can disappear as quickly as it arrives. Nauru is more than a tiny island in the Pacific. It is a lesson about greed, sustainability, and the true cost of short-term success. A new way to survive. In order to survive, Nauru chose a new path. Australia began sending asylum seekers and irregular migrants to detention centers on the island. In return, Nauru received financial support. But human rights organizations argue that these camps became symbols of humanitarian controversy and suffering. Nauru survived financially, but many believe it paid a price in reputation. How is life possible with almost no police? Nauru does have a police force, but it is extremely small. Why? Because almost everyone knows everyone else. In such a small society, crimes are difficult to hide. The community is tightly connected. Theft, violent crime, and murder are relatively rare compared to many larger nations. This is not a perfect society. It is simply the reality of a very small one. A country without a military. Nauru has no military. Why would it need one? The country is tiny. It has no border disputes. It has no hostile neighbors. Under security agreements, Australia would assist in protecting Nauru if necessary. Nauru demonstrates that not every nation requires an army to exist. Nauru today. Modern Nauru faces limited income, aging infrastructure, and serious public health challenges. Yet life goes on. Children still attend school. The ocean is still blue. The sun still rises over the Pacific every morning. Nauru has not disappeared, but it has been permanently transformed. A warning for the world. Nauru is not just another country. It is a living lesson. It teaches us that when nature is destroyed, the future is destroyed with it. Natural resources do not guarantee security. Development without planning can become a form of self-destruction. Nauru may be small, but its lesson is enormous. Standing among the ruins. If you visit Nauru today, The first thing you will notice is a wounded island. Broken land stretches across the horizon. Sharp limestone pillars rise from the earth. Vegetation is scarce. This is not the result of war between nations. It is the result of humanity's war against nature. Nauru stands like a living skeleton, still alive, but stripped of much of its former strength. Life in Nauru today. The people of Nauru continue to endure. But life is far from easy. Unemployment remains high. Health risks remain severe. For many young people, the future feels uncertain. Many dream of leaving the island. Yet opportunities are limited. Nauru's passport offers few advantages, and the nation's economic challenges make migration difficult. Education, the last hope. Despite everything, Nauru is investing in one thing above all else: education. The government continues working to keep schools operating. With support from Australia and international partners, teachers receive training and educational opportunities. Nauru has learned an important lesson. The phosphate may be gone, but knowledge is not. The difficult fight to restore nature. Nauru hopes to reclaim some of its damaged land. But reality is harsh. The soil is gone. Fresh water is limited. Restoration is expensive. International organizations have provided assistance, but recovering 80% of a devastated landscape is an enormous challenge. Nauru is like a patient fighting for recovery. It can survive, but returning to what it once was may be impossible. Can Nauru rise again? The answer is not simple. The country's options are limited. Tourism has potential, but infrastructure remains weak. Fishing offers opportunities, but only on a small scale. Foreign assistance continues to play a major role. Yet Nauru keeps trying. Because when people are determined to survive, even the smallest nation can fight the biggest battles. Peace without an army. Most countries believe that a military is essential for survival. Nauru proves that this is not always true. Its small population, strong social connections, and lack of external threats have allowed it to follow a different path. Nauru reminds us that peace does not always come from weapons. Sometimes it comes from circumstances, cooperation, and trust. Bangladesh and Nauru, two different realities. Bangladesh and Nauru represent two very different worlds. Bangladesh has a large population, limited land, and significant environmental challenges. Nauru has a tiny population, a tiny territory, and a landscape heavily damaged by resource extraction. Yet both countries share an important lesson. Development without thinking about the future can create serious consequences. What does Nauru teach us? Nauru is more than a country. It is a warning. It teaches us that natural resources are limited. It teaches us that development without planning can be dangerous. It reminds us that future generations must always be considered. And perhaps most importantly, it teaches us that wealth alone does not create a successful civilization. Sometimes, a single mistake is enough to change the fate of an entire nation. Nauru is proof of that.